The palace of Dracathon Prime stood tall against the purple sky. Its towers reached higher than any building Danny Morrison had ever seen on Earth. He had been working here for 6 months now, cleaning floors and carrying supplies. The Drakvar who owned this palace were not like humans. They had scales that shined like metal, wings that could spread wide enough to block the sun, and eyes that glowed in the dark. They were dragons. Real dragons. And they ruled hundreds of planets across the galaxy. Danny never thought he would work in a place like this. Back on Earth, he had been a maintenance worker at a shopping center. When the recruitment ship came to his town, he signed up because the pay was good and because he wanted to see the stars. His mother told him to be careful. His little sister Katie cried when he left, but Danny promised he would send money home and return after his contract ended. The palace had over 300 rooms. Danny worked in the service wing with 40 other humans. Their boss was a woman named Lisa Chen. She was strict but fair. She told them the rules on their first day. Stay quiet. Do your work. Never speak to the royal family unless they speak first. Never touch anything that does not need cleaning. The Drakvar were proud people who did not like servants getting in their way. For 6 months, Danny followed every rule. He mopped floors in the early morning before anyone woke up. He carried boxes of supplies to different rooms. He stayed out of sight when the royal family walked past. It was boring work, but it was safe, and the money was good. Then Princess Kirasol got sick. Danny first heard about it from Greg Palmer, one of the senior servants. Greg had been working at the palace for 5 years and knew all the gossip. They were eating lunch in the servants' dining hall when Greg leaned close and whispered, "The little princess is dying," Greg said. His voice was low. 3 weeks now, and getting worse every day. Danny stopped eating. "What's wrong with her?" Greg shook his head. "Nobody knows. The doctors can't figure it out. She won't eat. She won't sleep. She's getting thinner every day. The Emperor is going crazy trying to save her." Lisa sat down at their table. She looked tired. "Stop spreading rumors," she said to Greg. Then she looked at Danny. "But it's true. The princess is very sick. They've brought in specialists from 20 different planets. None of them can help." "How old is she?" Danny asked. "About 8 years old in human terms," Lisa said. "She's the youngest of the Emperor's children. He loves her very much." Danny thought about his sister Katie. She was 15 now. But he remembered when she was 8. She had been small and scared of everything. Thunder. The dark. Spiders. Their parents worked long hours, so Danny took care of her after school. He taught her how to be brave. "That's sad," Danny said quietly. Over the next week, Danny noticed changes in the palace. More doctors arrived every day. They came in ships from distant worlds. Some looked like giant insects. Some looked like floating jellyfish. Some looked like walking trees. All of them were famous and expensive. All of them went into the princess's room and came out, shaking their heads. Danny saw the Emperor once during this time. Emperor Thaxron was huge, even for a Drakvar. His scales were deep red like burning coals. His wings were folded against his back, but Danny could tell they were powerful. The Emperor walked down the hallway with his guards, and every servant pressed themselves against the walls and looked down. But Danny saw the Emperor's face for just a second. He looked scared, not angry or proud, but scared like any father would be if his child was dying. The palace became quiet. Normally there were parties and meetings and important visitors. Now everyone whispered. The servants worked faster, trying to stay invisible. Nobody wanted to make noise that might disturb the sick princess. Danny got transferred to the medical wing. They needed extra hands to help the doctors. His new job was to carry equipment, clean the medical rooms, and stand guard at night. He worked longer hours now, but he did not complain. He wanted to help, even in a small way. The first time Danny saw Princess Kirasol, his heart hurt. She was so small. Her scales, which should have been bright gold, looked dull and gray. She lay in a huge bed, covered in blankets. Her eyes were open, but she stared at the ceiling without seeing anything. Doctors moved around her, holding up strange devices that beeped and glowed. One doctor, a bird-like creature named Veltrix, spoke in a sharp voice. "All the tests are normal," Veltrix said. "Her body shows no disease, no poison, no infection, no injury. But she is dying anyway." Another doctor, who looked like a floating ball of light, hummed softly. "Perhaps it is a new illness we have not seen before. We have tested for everything," Veltrix said. The frustration in his voice was clear. "Every illness known in the galaxy, every toxin, every parasite. There is nothing wrong with her body." "Then why is she dying?" asked a third doctor. Veltrix had no answer. Danny watched from the doorway. He was supposed to be cleaning the hallway, but he could not look away from the small princess. She reminded him so much of Katie at that age. Small, fragile, in need of help. That night, Danny could not sleep. He kept thinking about the princess. He had seen sick people before. His grandmother died of cancer when he was a teenager. His friend from school had diabetes. Sick people looked different from Princess Curasol. When people were sick, they looked weak and tired. The princess looked scared. The next day, Danny was mopping the floor outside the medical wing when he heard Veltrix talking to another doctor. They did not know Danny could hear them. "I think it might be psychological," Veltrix said. "Psychological?" the other doctor said. "The mind?" "Yes. She refuses to eat. She refuses to sleep. But her body is fine." "Perhaps she is scared of something," the other doctor laughed. It was not a kind laugh. Drakvar do not get scared. They are warriors. Even their children are brave. The Emperor would never accept such a diagnosis. "But what else could it be?" Veltrix asked. "I do not know. But if you tell the Emperor his daughter is sick in the mind, he will have you thrown out of the palace." Veltrix did not say anything else. Danny kept mopping, but his mind was racing. Scared. The doctor said she might be scared. Danny remembered Katie when she was 7 years old. She stopped eating for a week. She stayed awake at night. She cried but would not tell anyone why. Their parents thought she was being difficult. They punished her. But that made things worse. Katie got thinner and paler. She jumped at every sound. It was Danny who figured it out, not their parents, not the school counselor. Danny, he stayed home from work one day and watched Katie. He saw how she looked at her bedroom door, how she would not go in until someone came with her, how she checked under her bed and in her closet before she would sit down. Katie was afraid of her room. It took 3 days, but Danny finally got her to tell him why. She thought there was a monster in her closet. She thought it came out at night. She could see its shadow moving. She could hear it breathing. Danny investigated. He found the problem in 30 seconds. The tree outside Katie's window moved in the wind. When the streetlight was on, the tree branches made shadows on her closet door. The shadows looked like something moving. The wind in the leaves sounded like breathing. Danny cut down the tree branches. He put a nightlight in Katie's room. She started eating again the next day. Now, standing in the palace of the most powerful empire in the galaxy, Danny wondered if Princess Curasol was like Katie. What if she was afraid of something? What if everyone was looking for a medical problem when the answer was simpler? But Danny was just a servant. Who would listen to him? The doctors were famous. They had studied for years. They had treated millions of patients. Danny cleaned floors for a living. Still, he could not stop thinking about it. 2 days later, the Emperor made an announcement. He would give a reward of 1 million credits to anyone who could cure his daughter. He would give them land. He would give them a title. He would give them anything they wanted. The palace filled with even more doctors. Some were real. Some were frauds. Who wanted the reward? They all failed. Princess Curasol got worse. The doctors gave her 3 days to live. The night shift started at 10 in the evening and ended at 6 in the morning. Danny stood outside Princess Curasol's room with nothing to do but watch and listen. The hallway was quiet. The only light came from small blue lamps along the walls. His job was simple. If he heard anything wrong, he was supposed to call the doctors. If the princess needed something, he was supposed to get it for her. Otherwise, he just stood there. Lisa had given him the assignment that morning. She pulled him aside after breakfast and spoke in a low voice. "We're short on staff," she said. "3 people called in sick. I need you to take the night watch in the medical wing." "What do I do?" Danny asked. "Stand outside the princess's room. Stay awake. Stay alert. If anything happens, press this button." She handed him a small device. "It will call the medical team. Don't go into her room unless she asks for help. Don't bother her. Don't try to talk to her. Just watch. Can you do that?" "Yes," Danny said. Lisa looked at him carefully. "I'm trusting you, Danny. The Emperor is watching everyone right now. One mistake, and we all lose our jobs. Understand?" "I understand." That night, Danny took his position outside the princess's door. The door was made of dark wood with gold designs. Through the small gap at the bottom, he could see light from inside the room. The princess had every lamp turned on. For the first hour, Danny heard nothing. He stood still, trying not to make noise. His feet started to hurt. He wanted to sit down, but there were no chairs. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other. Then he heard crying. It was soft, almost too quiet to hear. Danny stepped closer to the door. Yes, someone was definitely crying. It was not loud sobbing. It was the kind of crying you do when you're trying to hide it. Small, choked sounds, quick breaths. Danny wanted to knock on the door. He wanted to ask if she was okay. But Lisa's words stayed in his mind. "Don't bother her. Don't go in unless she asks." The crying continued for 20 minutes. Then it stopped. Danny checked his watch. Midnight. He had 6 more hours to go. At 2 in the morning, he heard a different sound. Movement. Footsteps. Was the princess walking around? Danny pressed his ear close to the door, being careful not to touch it. He heard small feet moving across the floor. Then he heard the princess's voice, so quiet he almost missed it. "Please go away," she whispered. "Please leave me alone." Danny's heart started beating faster. Was someone in the room with her? Should he call the doctors? He reached for the button Lisa gave him. But then he stopped. The princess was not screaming. She was not calling for help. She was just talking to herself. Or was she? "I know you're there," the princess whispered. "I can see you." Danny pressed the button. Within 2 minutes, 3 doctors rushed down the hallway. Veltrix was in front. "What's wrong?" Veltrix demanded. "She's talking to someone," Danny said. "She said, 'I can see you, and please go away.'" The doctors burst into the room. Danny waited outside. He heard them talking to the princess. He heard the princess crying again. After 10 minutes, Veltrix came out. He looked annoyed. "There is nobody in the room," Veltrix said. "We checked everywhere. We scanned for invisible beings. We scanned for spirits. There is nothing." "But she said someone was there," Danny said. "She is delirious from lack of sleep," Veltrix said. "She is imagining things. Stop bothering us unless there is a real emergency." He walked away. Danny felt bad. He had made the doctors angry, but he had only been trying to help. The rest of the night was quiet. The princess stopped talking, but Danny could hear her moving around. She was not sleeping. The next night was Danny's night off. But he could not stop thinking about what happened. He sat in the servants' dining hall with Greg and another human named Nicole Hayes. Nicole had worked at 3 different palaces before coming to Dracathon Prime. She knew a lot about the rich families. "You look worried," Nicole said to Danny. "It's the princess," Danny admitted. "Something's wrong, but I can't figure out what." Greg shook his head. "Not our problem. Let the doctors handle it." "But the doctors can't figure it out either," Danny said. Nicole leaned forward. "Let me give you some advice. I got fired from my last job because I tried to help. I saw that the Lord's son was being abused by his tutor. I reported it. You know what happened? They fired me. They said I was lying. They said I was trying to cause trouble. Don't stick your neck out for these people. They don't care about servants. But she's just a child, Danny said. A Drakvar child, Greg said. Not a human child. Not your responsibility. Danny knew they were right. It was not his job to solve the princess's problem. He was just a servant. But he kept thinking about Katie. What if nobody had helped her? What if everyone had said she was not their responsibility? The next night, Danny was back on watch. He stood outside the princess's door again. This time, he paid closer attention to everything. He listened to every sound. He watched the light under the door. He noted the time when things happened. At 11:30, the lights in the room got brighter. The princess was turning on more lamps. At midnight, he heard her moving around. She was walking from one side of the room to the other. At 1 in the morning, she stopped moving. Danny thought maybe she had fallen asleep. But then he heard her breathing. It was fast, scared breathing. She was awake and frightened. At 2 in the morning, she whispered again, "Please don't come closer. Please don't hurt me." Danny did not call the doctors this time. He knew they would not find anything. Instead, he tried to hear what the princess was looking at. Where was she facing when she talked? He got down on his knees and looked through the gap under the door. He could see part of the room. He could see the princess's feet. She was standing next to her bed, looking toward the wall. No, not the wall. The closet. She was staring at her closet door. Danny stood up quickly. His mind was racing. Katie had been afraid of her closet. Princess Kirasol was afraid of her closet too. Could it be the same problem? No. That was crazy. This was an alien planet. This was a palace with the best technology in the galaxy. There was no way a simple shadow was making the princess sick. But what if it was? The next morning, Danny asked Lisa if he could speak with her privately. They went to a storage room where nobody could hear them. "I think I know what's wrong with the princess," Danny said. Lisa raised her eyebrows. "What?" "I think she's afraid of something in her room." Lisa sighed. "Danny, the doctor's already checked. There's nothing in her room." "I don't mean a real thing," Danny said. "I mean, she thinks there's something. She's scared. That's why she won't sleep. That's why she won't eat." "The doctor said she was delirious," Lisa said. "What if she's not?" Danny argued. "What if she's scared, and nobody believes her?" Lisa looked at him for a long moment. "Even if you're right, what can you do about it? You're a servant. The Emperor has the best doctors in the galaxy working on this. You think you're smarter than them?" "I don't think I'm smarter," Danny said. "I just think I understand something they don't. When my sister was little, she got scared of her room. The doctors said nothing was wrong with her body. My parents thought she was being difficult, but she was really scared. I helped her. Maybe I can help the princess too." "And if you're wrong?" Lisa asked. "If you go in there and bother her and make things worse, the Emperor will have you thrown off this planet. Maybe worse." "I know," Danny said, "but I have to try." Lisa was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "I can't give you permission to do this. If you get caught, I'll say I knew nothing about it. Understand?" "I understand. But," Lisa said slowly, "if you were to bring the princess some food, nobody would question that. Servants bring food all the time." Danny felt hope rise in his chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me," Lisa said. "And don't make me regret this." That afternoon, Danny requested a meal tray from the kitchen. He got a bowl of fruit and some bread. It was simple food, the kind a sick person might be able to eat. He carried it down the hallway toward the princess's room. His hands were shaking. He was about to break a dozen rules. When he reached the door, he knocked softly. There was no answer. He knocked again, a little louder. "Go away," a small voice said from inside. "Your Highness," Danny said, "I brought you some food. I'm not hungry. Could I bring it in anyway, just in case you want it later?" There was silence. Then, "Okay." Danny opened the door and stepped inside. The princess's room was huge. It had a giant bed with gold posts. It had a desk, a closet, shelves full of books, and big windows that showed the gardens outside. Every light in the room was on, making it as bright as day. Princess Kirasol sat on her bed. She was tiny, even smaller than Danny had thought. Her golden scales looked dull and sick. Her eyes had dark circles under them. She looked at Danny with fear and exhaustion. "I'll just put this here," Danny said, setting the tray on a table near the bed. Danny put the tray down and started to leave. He had done what he came to do. He had gotten inside the room, but something made him stop at the door. The princess looked so alone, so scared. He thought about Katie again, sitting in her room, too frightened to tell anyone what was wrong. He turned around. "Your Highness, can I ask you something?" The princess looked surprised. Servants did not usually talk to her. "What? Do you have trouble sleeping?" Her eyes got wide. For a moment, she did not say anything. Then she nodded slowly. "I had a little sister who had trouble sleeping too," Danny said. He stayed near the door, not wanting to scare her by coming closer. "She was about your age. She stopped eating. She stayed awake all night. Everyone thought she was sick, but the doctors said her body was fine." The princess stared at him. "What was wrong with her?" "She was scared," Danny said simply. The word hung in the air between them. In Drekvar culture, being scared was shameful. Warriors did not get scared. Even children were supposed to be brave. But Danny saw something change in the princess's face. Her eyes filled with tears. "The doctors said I was imagining things," she whispered. Danny took a small step into the room. "What did you imagine?" The princess looked down at her hands. "I can't tell you. Everyone says it's not real. They say I'm being foolish." "My sister thought the same thing," Danny said. "She thought nobody would believe her. But I believed her. And I helped her." The princess looked up at him. Her eyes were desperate. "You did?" "Yes. She told me what scared her, and I fixed it. Maybe I can help you too." "You're just a servant," the princess said. But there was hope in her voice, not insult. "That's true," Danny said. "But sometimes servants see things that important people miss. We're good at noticing small problems." The princess was quiet for a long time. Danny waited. He did not push her. He just stood there, patient and calm. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was so quiet he almost could not hear it. "There's a monster in my room." Danny did not laugh. He did not tell her she was being silly. He just nodded. "Where?" The princess pointed at the floor next to her bed. "Under there. It comes out at night." "What does it look like?" "It's big and dark. It has long arms that reach out. Sometimes I can see it moving on the walls. It makes sounds like breathing." She started crying. "I told the doctors, but they looked everywhere. They used their machines. They said there was nothing there. They said I was seeing things that weren't real. But I know it's real. I can see it every night." "I believe you," Danny said. The princess looked shocked. "You do?" "Yes. I think you're seeing something. It might not be a monster, but you're definitely seeing something real. Something that scares you." "But the doctors said." "The doctors are very smart," Danny interrupted gently. "But they were looking for certain kinds of problems. Maybe they weren't looking for the right thing." The princess wiped her eyes. "Do you think you can find it?" "I'd like to try," Danny said. "Will you let me look under your bed?" The fear came back into her face immediately. "No, you'll make it angry. It might hurt you." "I promise I'll be careful," Danny said. "Humans are very good at dealing with monsters. We've been fighting them for thousands of years on our planet." This was not exactly true, but it made the princess feel better. She thought about it for a moment, then nodded. "Okay. But be careful." Danny walked over to the bed. The princess scooted back against the headboard, pulling her knees up to her chest. She watched him with wide eyes. Danny got down on his knees. He could feel his heart beating fast. What if there really was something under there? What if he was wrong? He took a deep breath and looked under the bed. At first, he saw nothing unusual, just carpet and dust. The space under the bed was big and empty. But then he saw it. In the far corner, pushed up against the wall, there was a small black box. It had lights on it, but one of the lights was flickering. There was a crack in the plastic case. Danny reached under the bed and pulled out the box. It was a holographic projector, the kind used for entertainment and education. But this one was broken. When Danny touched it, the device turned on. Suddenly, the wall lit up with a horrible image. A dark shape with long arms appeared on the wall. It moved and shifted, reaching across the room toward the bed. The device made a humming sound that did sound like breathing. The princess screamed. Danny quickly turned off the device. The image disappeared. "It's okay," he said. "It's not a monster. Look." He held up the broken projector. "It's just a machine. It's broken, and it's making scary pictures." The princess stared at the device in his hands. "That's the monster?" "Yes. This thing is supposed to show educational pictures and stories. But it's broken. At night, it turns on by itself and shows this scary shadow on your wall." The princess got off the bed and came closer. She looked at the device carefully. "That's what I've been seeing?" "Yes. The doctors didn't find it because they were looking for living things. This is just a broken machine. It's not dangerous. It's just scary." The princess touched the device with one finger. Then she started crying again. But this time it was different. It was relief. "I'm not crazy?" "No," Danny said firmly. "You're not crazy. You saw something real. Everyone else just didn't understand what it was." The princess sat down on the floor, still crying. Danny did not know what to do. He was not supposed to touch members of the royal family. But she was just a scared little girl who had been suffering for weeks. He sat down next to her, not too close, and waited. After a while, the princess stopped crying. She looked at Danny with red eyes. "Why didn't the doctors find it?" "They were looking for medical problems," Danny explained. "They checked your body. They looked for germs and poison. They didn't think to look for something like this. But you did." "My sister had a similar problem," Danny said. "She saw scary shadows in her room at night. It turned out to be tree branches moving in the wind. Once I cut the branches, the shadows went away. She started sleeping again." The princess was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "I haven't slept in 3 weeks. I know. I stopped eating because my stomach hurt from being scared all the time." "That makes sense. Everyone thought I was dying." "You were," Danny said honestly. "Not from a disease, but from fear. Fear can make you very sick if it goes on too long." The princess looked at the broken device in Danny's hands. "Can you take it away?" "Yes. And I have something that might help." Danny reached into his pocket. He had brought a small flashlight from the human quarters. It was not much, but it gave a soft white light. "This is a human nightlight. We use them when we're afraid of the dark. It's not as bright as your lamps, but it will keep the shadows away." He showed her how to turn it on and off. The princess held it like it was made of gold. "Thank you," she whispered. Danny stood up. "I should go now. But I think you'll be able to sleep tonight." "Wait," the princess said. "What's your name?" "Danny Morrison, Your Highness." "Thank you, Danny Morrison. You saved my life." Danny felt his face get hot. "I just looked under your bed. Any servant could have done it. But they didn't," the princess said. "You did. Because you listened to me." Danny did not know what to say to that. He just bowed and left the room, taking the broken projector with him. Outside in the hallway, Danny stood still for a moment. His hands were shaking. He had just broken about 20 rules. He had gone into the princess's room without permission. He had talked to her. He had touched her belongings. If the emperor found out, he would be in serious trouble. But he had also solved the problem that dozens of famous doctors could not solve. Danny went to find Lisa. She was in the servants' quarters, checking inventory. When she saw him, she raised her eyebrows. "I found the problem," Danny said. He showed her the broken projector. Lisa looked at it, confused. "What is that?" Danny explained everything. The device under the bed, the scary shadows it made, the princess's fear. As he talked, Lisa's expression changed from confusion to understanding, to something like amazement. "You're telling me," Lisa said slowly, "that the princess has been dying because of a broken toy? Not a toy, an entertainment device. But yes, basically." Lisa sat down. "The Emperor spent millions of credits bringing in specialists. The best doctors in the galaxy have been working on this for weeks. And the answer was a broken projector under the bed." "Sometimes the simple answer is the right answer," Danny said. Lisa looked at him for a long moment. "What are you going to do now?" "I don't know. Should I tell someone?" "Tell who?" "The doctors won't believe you. The Emperor definitely won't believe you." Danny thought about this. "Maybe I don't need to tell anyone. Maybe the princess will just get better, and everyone will be happy." But that night, something unexpected happened. Princess Kirasol asked for dinner. For the first time in 3 weeks, she ate a full meal. The nurses were shocked. The doctors were called in. They examined her and found that her condition had improved dramatically. The next morning, the princess asked for breakfast. She ate everything on her plate. By afternoon, she was walking around her room. Her scales started to get their shine back. The dark circles under her eyes began to fade. The doctors were amazed. They ran more tests. Everything was improving. But they had no idea why. Veltrix called a meeting with all the medical staff. Danny was not invited. But he heard about it from Nicole, who cleaned the medical offices. "They're all confused," Nicole said. "Yesterday she was dying. Today she's recovering. They can't explain it." "Did they figure out what was wrong?" Danny asked carefully. "No. Veltrix thinks her body just finally started fighting whatever was wrong. He's taking credit for it, saying his treatment plan finally worked." Danny said nothing. He thought about telling someone the truth. But what would happen? Would they believe him? Would they be angry that a servant solved the problem? The decision was taken out of his hands the next day. Princess Kirasol told her father everything. Danny was mopping the floor in the servants' wing when the guards came for him. There were 4 of them, all Drakvar, all armed. They were huge, their scales gleaming like polished metal. Danny's heart dropped into his stomach. "Are you Danny Morrison?" one of them asked. "Yes," Danny said. His mouth was dry. "Come with us. The Emperor wants to see you." Lisa heard this from across the hall. Her face went pale. Nicole, who was nearby, grabbed Danny's arm. "What did you do?" "I don't know," Danny lied. He knew exactly what he had done. The princess had told someone. Now he was in trouble. The guards led him through the palace. They did not speak to him. Other servants stopped working to watch him pass. Their faces were full of pity. Everyone knew that when the Emperor called for a servant, it was never good news. They took him to the throne room. Danny had never been in this part of the palace before. The room was enormous. With a ceiling so high Danny could barely see it. The walls were covered in gold and precious stones. At the far end of the room, on a platform, sat Emperor Thaxron on his throne. The Emperor was even bigger up close. His red scales glowed in the light. His wings were folded but still took up half the platform. His eyes were golden and sharp. Next to him stood Princess Kirasol. She looked much better than the last time Danny had seen her. Her scales were brighter. She was standing up straight. But she looked worried. Veltrix was there too, along with 5 other doctors. They all looked angry. The guards pushed Danny forward. He walked to the center of the room and dropped to his knees. His whole body was shaking. This was it. He was going to get fired. Maybe worse. "You are Danny Morrison?" The Emperor's voice was like thunder. "Yes, Your Majesty. My daughter tells me you saved her life." Danny looked up in surprise. The Emperor did not look angry. He looked confused. I just helped her, Your Majesty. She says you found what was making her sick. She says you did what all these doctors could not do." The Emperor gestured at Veltrix and the others. "Is this true?" Danny glanced at Veltrix. The bird-like doctor looked furious. Danny knew he had to be careful with his words. "I found something in her room, Your Majesty. A broken device. I removed it." "What kind of device?" the Emperor demanded. Danny pulled the broken projector from his pocket. He had been carrying it around, not knowing what to do with it. This, Your Majesty. It's a holographic projector. It was under the princess's bed. It was broken, and making scary images at night. The Emperor stared at the device. That tiny thing made my daughter sick? Yes, Your Majesty. It was scaring her. The fear made her unable to eat or sleep. Veltrix stepped forward. Your Majesty, with respect, this is ridiculous. A simple fear could not cause such severe illness. The princess was dying. This servant is taking credit for a natural recovery. The Emperor looked at his daughter. Kirasol, is what this servant says true? The princess nodded. Yes, father. I was scared. Every night. That machine made shadows on my wall. I thought it was a monster. I told the doctors, but they said nothing was there. They said I was imagining things. But Danny believed me. He looked under my bed and found the machine. Why didn't the doctors find it? The Emperor asked, his voice dangerous. Veltrix shifted uncomfortably. We were looking for medical threats, Your Majesty. Biological issues? Chemical issues. We did not think to look for entertainment devices. Conic stand, because you did not believe what my daughter told you, the Emperor said. It was not a question. Your Majesty, another doctor said quickly. Psychological issues are not our specialty. The princess's body showed no signs of disease. We did everything we could, except listen to her, the Emperor said coldly. The room went silent. Danny stayed on his knees, not daring to move. The Emperor looked at Danny. Stand up, human. Danny stood. His legs felt weak. Explain to me, the Emperor said, how you knew what to look for when these doctors did not. Danny took a deep breath. Your Majesty, I have a younger sister. When she was small, she had a similar problem. She was scared of her room. She stopped eating and sleeping. The doctors on Earth said she was fine. My parents thought she was being difficult, but I watched her. I saw how she looked at her closet. I realized she was afraid of something. I found out what it was and fixed it. What was it? Shadows from a tree outside her window, Your Majesty. They looked like something scary moving in her closet. I cut the branches and put a nightlight in her room. She got better right away. The Emperor was quiet for a moment. You thought my daughter had the same problem? Yes, Your Majesty. I saw her staying awake at night. I heard her talking like she was afraid of something. It reminded me of my sister. So I asked her what was wrong. She told me about the monster. I looked under her bed and found the machine. One of the doctors spoke up. Your Majesty, even if this story is true, fear should not cause such severe physical illness. The princess was dying. Was she? The Emperor asked. He looked at Veltrix. Her tests were normal, correct? Her body showed no disease? That's correct, Your Majesty. Then she was not dying from a disease. She was dying from fear. The Emperor stood up from his throne. He was massive, terrifying. This human understood something you did not. Fear is real. It affects the body. My daughter was so frightened that she could not function. And instead of helping her, you told her she was imagining things. The doctors all looked down. The Emperor walked down from the platform. He came to stand in front of Danny. Danny had to tilt his head back to look at him. The Emperor could kill him with one hand, but the Emperor did not look angry anymore. He looked thoughtful. On your planet, the Emperor said, do humans experience fear? Yes, Your Majesty. All the time. And you have ways to deal with it? Yes, we talk about it. We help each other. We know that fear is real, and it can make you sick if you don't address it. The Emperor nodded slowly. In Drakvar culture, we do not speak of fear. It is seen as weakness. Warriors do not get scared. But my daughter is not a warrior. She is a child. And children get scared, no matter what species they are. He looked at Veltrix. You failed my daughter because you did not listen to her. You were too proud to consider that fear could be the answer. This human succeeded because he was willing to believe a frightened child. Veltrix bowed his head. I apologize, Your Majesty. The Emperor turned back to Danny. You saved my daughter's life. I promised a reward to anyone who could cure her. What do you want? Money? Land? A position in my government? Danny had not thought about this. He had not helped the princess for a reward. He had done it because it was the right thing to do. I don't need anything big, Your Majesty, Danny said carefully. I'm happy with my job here. But if you're offering, I'd like to send more money home to my family on Earth. My mother works hard, and my sister is going to university soon. Some extra credits would help them. The Emperor smiled. It was a terrifying sight, showing rows of sharp teeth, but there was kindness in it too. You will have your credits. 1 million, as promised. But I think you deserve more than that. Your Majesty, I don't need. You will become my daughter's cultural advisor, the Emperor interrupted. You will teach her about human customs. You will teach my doctors about human psychology. And you will help me understand why humans seem to know things about emotion and fear that we have forgotten. Danny did not know what to say. I'm not a teacher, Your Majesty. I'm just a servant. You were a servant, the Emperor corrected. Now, you are an advisor to the royal family. You will have a new position, new quarters, and a new salary. You will work with my medical staff to develop new ways of treating psychological problems. He looked at Veltrix. You and your team will learn from this human. You will study human psychology. You will understand that the mind and body are connected. If you ever dismiss a patient's fear again, you will answer to me. Understood? Yes, Your Majesty, Veltrix said. He did not look happy, but he looked humbled. The Emperor returned to his throne. Danny Morrison, you have done a great service for my family. You will be honored in my court. You will have my protection. And you will help us learn from humanity. Thank you, Your Majesty, Danny said. He bowed deeply. Princess Kirasol ran down from the platform. She stopped in front of Danny and looked up at him with grateful eyes. Thank you for believing me, she said quietly. You're welcome, Your Highness. Will you teach me about Earth? She asked. I want to know about the place where people understand fear. Danny smiled. I'd be happy to. That night, Danny sat in his new quarters. They were much bigger than his old room in the servants' wing. He had a real bed, a desk, and a window that overlooked the gardens. On his desk was a communication device. He used it to call home. His mother's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but happy to see him. Danny, how are you? I'm good, Mom, really good. I have some news. He told her everything. About the princess. About the broken projector. About his new position. His mother's eyes got wider and wider as he talked. You're working for the Emperor now? She said, amazed. Yeah, and I'm sending home 1 million credits. His mother started crying. Danny, that's too much. We can't accept that. Yes, you can. Pay off the house. Help Katie with school. Take a vacation. You've worked hard your whole life, Mom. Let me help you now. His sister Katie appeared in the screen, pushing next to their mother. Is it true? Did you really help an alien princess by looking under her bed? Danny laughed. Yeah, just like I helped you. You're amazing, Katie said. I'm telling everyone at school that my brother is an alien princess's advisor. Don't let it go to your head, Danny said. But he was smiling. After he ended the call, Danny sat in his room for a long time. A week ago, he had been a servant mopping floors. Now he was an advisor to the most powerful family in the galaxy. It was hard to believe, but more than the money or the position, Danny felt good about what he had done. He had helped a scared little girl. He had listened when others did not. And maybe, just maybe, he had started to change how an entire empire thought about fear and emotion. That was worth more than any reward. 1 year passed. Danny stood in the medical conference room, looking at the crowd of doctors in front of him. There were Drakvar, bird-like Veltari, floating luminarians, insectoid creche, and dozens of other species. They had come from across the galaxy to attend the first psychological health summit at the Imperial Palace. Danny never imagined he would be speaking to such important people. But here he was, about to give a presentation about something humans had known for thousands of years. Fear is real, and it can make you sick. "Thank you all for coming," Danny said into the microphone. His voice echoed in the large room. A year ago, Princess Kirasol was dying. The best doctors in the galaxy could not figure out why. Today, I want to talk about what we learned from that experience. He pressed a button, and a screen behind him lit up. It showed a simple diagram of a human brain. Humans learned a long time ago that the mind and body are connected. When we're scared, our bodies react. Our hearts beat faster. Our stomachs feel sick. We can't eat. We can't sleep. If this goes on too long, we get very ill. A Veltari doctor raised her wing. "But surely advanced species should not be affected by simple emotions?" Danny smiled. He had heard this question many times. Being affected by emotions doesn't make you less advanced. It makes you alive. Every species in this room experiences fear. The question is, do you acknowledge it and deal with it, or do you pretend it doesn't exist? The room was quiet. Danny continued. The princess was afraid of shadows under her bed. She told people, but nobody listened. They thought she was being foolish. In human culture, we teach our children that it's okay to be scared. We teach them to talk about their fears, and we help them face those fears in safe ways. A Drakvar doctor stood up. Danny recognized him. It was Veltrix. Over the past year, Veltrix had become one of Danny's closest colleagues. He had been angry at first, but he had learned to respect human knowledge. "I want to say something," Veltrix announced. "A year ago, I failed Princess Kirasol. I ran every medical test. I scanned her body. I gave her medicines, but I never asked her what she was afraid of. I dismissed her fear as unimportant. I was wrong." He looked at Danny. "This human taught me that good medicine is not just about treating the body. It's about listening to the patient. It's about understanding that fear, anxiety, and sadness are real problems that need real solutions." The room erupted in discussion. Some doctors agreed, others argued. This was still a new concept for many species. After the presentation, Danny went to find Princess Kirasol. She was in the garden, practicing her flying. At 9 years old now, her wings were getting stronger. She swooped and glided between the trees, her golden scales shining in the sun. When she saw Danny, she landed gracefully. "How did it go?" "Good, I think." Some doctors still don't believe that fear is a medical issue, but others are starting to understand. Kirasol sat down on a bench, and Danny sat beside her. This was a common sight now. The princess and her human advisor, talking like old friends. "I'm giving a speech tomorrow," Kirasol said, "at the medical conference. Father wants me to tell my story. Are you nervous?" "Yes," she admitted. "I'm scared that people will think I'm weak, that they'll say a real Drakvar princess would never be afraid of shadows." "What do you think?" Danny asked. Kirasol thought about this. "I think being afraid doesn't make me weak. Admitting I was afraid, asking for help, that took courage. You taught me that." Danny smiled. "You're going to do great tomorrow." The next day, the conference hall was packed. Representatives from 50 different worlds came to hear Princess Kirasol speak. The emperor sat in the front row, proud and protective. Kirasol walked to the podium. She was small compared to most of the adults in the room, but she stood tall. Her voice was clear and strong. "A year ago, I was dying," she began. "Not from disease. Not from poison. I was dying from fear. I was afraid of shadows in my room. And that fear made me so sick I almost died." She looked out at the audience. "The doctors ran tests. They gave me medicine. They tried everything. But they didn't help me, because they didn't believe me. They told me I was imagining things. They told me to be brave. They told me that Drakvar don't get scared, but I was scared. And pretending I wasn't scared almost killed me. The room was completely silent. A human servant named Danny Morrison saved my life. He didn't have fancy equipment. He didn't have a medical degree. But he had something the doctors didn't have. He believed me. He listened to me. He understood that my fear was real. She smiled. Danny told me about his sister on Earth. She had the same problem I did. On Earth, humans talk about fear openly. They help each other. They don't pretend to be brave all the time. And because of that, they solve problems that other species miss. Kira Sol looked at her father. My father, Emperor Thaxron, is the strongest warrior in our empire. He has won many battles. He rules hundreds of worlds, but last year, he learned something important. Real strength is not about never being afraid. Real strength is about being honest when you are afraid and asking for help. The Emperor nodded, his eyes shining with pride. Today, I want to ask all of you to learn from humans, Kirasol continued. Learn that emotions are not weaknesses. Learn that fear, sadness, and anxiety are real problems that need attention. Learn to listen to your patients when they tell you something is wrong. Even if your tests say everything is fine. She gestured to Danny, who was standing at the side of the stage. This human looked where others wouldn't, not because he was smarter, but because he understood something we had forgotten. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is admit you're afraid and ask for help. The audience started clapping. It began slowly, then grew louder. Soon, everyone in the room was standing, applauding the young princess who had the courage to speak about fear. After the speech, Danny was surrounded by doctors asking questions. How did humans treat anxiety? What did they do for children who had nightmares? How did they help people who were sad or scared? Danny answered as best he could. He was not a trained psychologist, but he knew the basics. He explained how humans used therapy, medication when needed, and simple comfort measures like nightlights and stuffed animals. But most importantly, Danny said, we listen. We believe people when they say something is wrong. We don't dismiss fear as weakness. We treat it as a real problem that deserves real attention. A young creche doctor approached him. I have a patient, she said quietly. A child who won't leave his home. He says there are too many people outside, and they scare him. I've been telling him to be brave, but he's getting worse. What should I do? Stop telling him to be brave, Danny said gently. Instead, help him understand his fear. Maybe start small. Let him go outside with someone he trusts. Let him take breaks when he gets scared. Slowly help him build confidence. But don't push him too hard, and never make him feel bad for being afraid. The doctor looked thoughtful. That's so different from how we usually handle things. I know, Danny said. But it works. Over the next few months, Danny received requests from across the galaxy. Hospitals wanted him to train their staff. Schools wanted him to teach their teachers. Governments wanted advice on mental health programs. Danny couldn't handle it all alone. So he reached out to Earth. He contacted psychologists, therapists, and counselors. He asked them to come to space and share their knowledge. Many agreed. Soon, there were human mental health advisors on dozens of worlds. They taught alien doctors about anxiety, depression, trauma, and fear. They showed them that treating the mind was just as important as treating the body. Lisa, Danny's old boss, became the head of the Human Mental Health Program. Greg helped coordinate the training sessions. Nicole started a support group for servants who were afraid to speak up about their problems. You started something big, Lisa told Danny one day. They were having coffee in the palace garden. A year ago, you were mopping floors. Now you're changing how the whole galaxy thinks about mental health. I just looked under a bed, Danny said. You did more than that, Lisa corrected. You listened to a scared child when nobody else would. You took a risk to help her. And you showed everyone that humans have something valuable to offer. Danny thought about this. I think humans have always had something to offer. We just needed a chance to show it. 3 months later, Danny received a message from the Galactic Medical Board. They wanted to create a new field of medicine, psychological health. They wanted Danny to help develop the curriculum. They wanted humans to teach it. "This is huge," Veltrix said when Danny told him. "You're creating an entirely new medical specialty." "We're creating it," Danny corrected. "I can't do this alone. I need doctors like you who are willing to learn and change." Veltrix nodded. "I'm willing. I never want to fail another patient the way I failed Princess Kirasol." On the 1-year anniversary of Kirasol's recovery, the Emperor held a celebration. The entire palace was decorated. Important guests came from across the empire. Danny wore formal clothes that felt strange and uncomfortable, but Lisa said he looked good. During the dinner, the Emperor stood to make a speech. "1 year ago my daughter was dying," he said. "I was prepared to lose her. I had brought in the best doctors. I had offered great rewards. But nothing worked." He looked at Danny. Then a human servant did something that seemed simple, but was actually revolutionary. He listened to a child. He believed her. He looked under her bed. The crowd laughed softly. Danny Morrison showed us that advanced technology is not always the answer. Sometimes, the answer is compassion, understanding, willingness to believe what seems impossible. The Emperor raised his glass. Humans are often seen as weak because they acknowledge their emotions. But I have learned that this is not weakness. It is wisdom. Humans understand something we forgot. Fear is not the enemy. Ignoring fear is the enemy. Everyone drank to that. Later, Danny stood on a balcony with Kirasol. They looked out at the city lights stretching to the horizon. "Do you ever miss just being a servant?" Kirasol asked. Danny considered this. "Sometimes. Life was simpler then. But I like what I'm doing now. I like helping people." "You helped me," Kirasol said softly. "You saved my life." "You saved yourself," Danny corrected. "You had the courage to tell me what was wrong. That was the hard part." Kirasol smiled. "I'm glad you came to our planet, Danny Morrison." "Me too, Your Highness." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Danny thought about his journey. A year ago, he had been nobody special. Just a human from Earth, trying to make money to send home. Now he was changing how an entire galaxy thought about mental health. But the part that mattered most was much simpler. He had helped a scared little girl. He had listened when others didn't. He had looked under a bed and found a simple problem with a simple solution. Sometimes, Danny realized, the most important things are the simplest. Listening, believing, caring. These were human qualities that the galaxy needed. And maybe, just maybe, that was humanity's true gift to the stars. Not advanced weapons or technology, but understanding, compassion, and the courage to acknowledge fear without shame. A shooting star crossed the sky. Kirasol pointed at it. "Make a wish," she said. Danny closed his eyes. He wished for his sister Katie to do well in school. He wished for his mother to be happy. He wished for more humans to come to space and share their knowledge. But most of all, he wished that children across the galaxy, no matter what species they were, would never again be afraid to say they were scared. Because admitting fear, Danny had learned, was not the end of strength. It was the beginning of healing. And that was a lesson worth sharing with the stars.